Monday Night Raw, the first episode on Raw Netflix, starts off with The Rock. Starts off with The Rock. He ends up cutting a short promo. He ends up starting off with, praising the crowd, talked about them making history. Then um, he ends up mentioning Roman Reigns, mentioning Cody Rhodes. He ends up mentioning the people that he acknowledged. He ends up acknowledging Cody Rhodes due to him carrying the company for a year. And he ends up acknowledging Roman Reigns, mentioning the tribal combat match and mentioning how that match could either way play out. And that's pretty much the end of the segment. Him, slowly building, potentially teasing us what could possibly happen. We end up figure out later in the show, nothing really ended up happening. But it was a good way to start off the show, in my opinion. Then this transition to the tribal combat match between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, which I actually thought was I thought it was a very solid match. It was some interesting spots. We had one spot where Roman powerbombed Solo through the announce table. The referee was about to count to three, but then you get Tama Tonga ends up pulling the referee. As I expected, this match played out exactly how I thought it would, with both bloodline members of each group was going to interfere, which is exactly what happened, because then Solo's bloodline ends up attacking Roman. This allows Solo to take advantage. He ends up hitting the Samoan spike, but Roman Reigns ends up kicking out. Then he tries to go for another Samoan spike, but then you end up getting the OG bloodline coming out. No Jey Uso. Jey Uso didn't come out to help. It was just Jimmy and Sammy. But then towards the end of the match, we end up getting a moment where Roman was about to make a comeback, finna go for a spear, but then out of nowhere, you end up getting Kevin Owens of all people. He comes out, attacks Roman, hits a stunner on him. Then you get Cody Rhodes. He comes out, attack Kevin Owens, of course. Makes sense because Cody did say that whenever he sees Kevin Owens, it will be on site. Then you end up getting the momentum back to Roman after KO and Cody and they're brawling to the backstage. Then Roman ends up spearing Solo. He speared him twice, if I'm not mistaken. He ended up spearing him twice. Roman ends up picking up the victory, and Roman ends up getting back his Ulafala. After the match, The Rock ends up coming out. He ends up coming out to the ring, asking Paul Heyman to handle the Ulafala, which he ended up putting around Roman Reigns' neck. I like the segment. I am a bit disappointed though, because now to be fair, I will say our expectations were set a bit high, but I do feel like that this is kind of giving a warning sign that The Rock won't be there at Mania, because this would have been the perfect time to start telling the story of two things, either Cody and Rock or Rock and Roman. The fact that The Rock was wearing his heel attire and being his heel gimmick technically, but acting like a babyface, kind of tells me he's not going to be there at Mania, because his interaction with Cody, they basically act like nothing happened. And then with Roman and Rock, there's basically no real dissension in their friendship. So it looks like Rock may not be there at Mania, or this could just be possibly dragging us along and they may do it later, but this is kind of signaling that The Rock won't be there at Mania. Um, Overall, the match was fine. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I was kind of expecting something towards the end. But I am curious to see how that story plays out with Roman being the tribal chief again with the Ulafala, and with Solo potentially, acknowledging Roman, because he did say him and his bloodline will acknowledge Roman if he gets the Ulafala back. So I'm curious to see how that will play out. And I'm curious to see what's the new direction for Solo and his bloodline. Will Jacob Fatu and the other members of the bloodline turn on Solo due to him losing, or will they just fall in line with Roman? So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Afterwards, when we get John Cena, he ends up cutting a promo. Not gonna really go into depth. His promo was somewhat similar to The Rock, where he basically praises the crowd and all that. Then he starts mentioning his failed world tour. He ends up mentioning number 17th, but then he starts saying that the number 17th isn't that realistic due to him constantly losing and due to his losing streak. Then he starts mentioning all the possible avenues and ways he could possibly get it. He ends up mentioning Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, and then mentioning the Royal Rumble. He ends up mentioning how he could enter that, and then he ends up declaring that he will enter it and that he promised to win it. This is basically just, tell the story of John Cena trying to win his 17th. I like the promo. This is kind of how I expected the promo to go. Nothing major, but this is kind of how I expected to go. I'm excited to see how this plays out. Now, his promo kind of scares me a bit, because part of me feels like he's kind of telling the truth when he says that do not expect him to win. He kind of scared me a bit, because John Cena is the type of guy where he doesn't want to win the 17th, and it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't. But I'm a huge John Cena fan. He's my favorite. He's my GOAT. I want John Cena to win everything. I'm going to be honest. I want John Cena to win everything. It's been too long. Bring back Super Cena for the one last time. Like, it's been too long. He's been losing for years. Let him get some W's, okay? Like, it's time, okay? But hopefully it was just him teasing us just to, throw us off a bit. But hopefully he does eventually win that 17, whether it's Mania, whether he wins the Royal Rumble, whether it's at something, whatever. But hopefully he wins number 17. And I'm interested to see how his farewell tour goes. Now we end up getting Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. I will argue this is probably their best match that they had. This match was fine. I thought it was good. It was a solid match. Some interesting spots. A lot of kickouts in this match. A lot of kickouts in general in the matches that happened on tonight's show. You had Liv Morgan kicking out of a riptide, which was very surprising. We ended up having a moment where they basically recreated the spot that they did at SummerSlam, where Liv Morgan ends up hitting the Oblivion on a steel chair. They end up recreating that same spot, but this time Rhea Ripley ends up kicking out. Then we end up getting basically towards the end of the match. Liv Morgan tries to go for Oblivion, but Rhea Ripley ends up catching her and then ends up hitting back-to-back riptides to pick up the victory. And Rhea Ripley is now your new Women's World Champion. Thank God this feud is over. I am glad this is over. I had a huge fear that they was going to drag this to Mania because there was no stipulation. Thank God that they did not go with that. Thank you. I'm hoping now we'll interested to see how this plays into the WrestleMania, who will be her Mania opponent. A lot of people want Io Sky. I'm not really feeding for that because that build will be terrible. It will be absolutely garbage. I'm cool with her winning in the Elimination Chamber. Even that I'm kind of iffy on because this year WrestleMania, isn't it like April 27th, April 20th? Isn't it like very late April? And I know the Elimination Chamber is like early March, so that still is basically a 2-month build. It's like, I don't want to see a 2-month build of Rhea Ripley, and I just don't. So we'll see how this plays out. And Damian Priest and Finn Balor are supposed to end next week too in a street fight. Now I am very interested to know why they didn't have Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan be a street fight. I feel like the match could have helped by it being a street fight if you were just going to do the same thing you did in this match. But due to them having more history as well. But nonetheless, both rivalries should end. I'm praying that both rivalries end and they could both move on. But tonight was the right choice with having Rhea Ripley become the new Women's World Champion. After this, though, we ended up getting Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. I'm not going to really speak about this match. This match was kind of whatever. Part of it was due to the crowd. The crowd was up and down in this match. But towards the end of the match, Jey Uso ended up getting a roll-up pin on Drew McIntyre due to Drew McIntyre getting too cocky and arrogant. And Jey Uso picks up the victory. I'm not going to really speak about this match. This is just to tell the story of Drew getting too cocky and arrogant. I'm assuming the next time they face, he's going to not be as cocky and arrogant, and he's just going to demolish Jey Uso. That's what I'm assuming. I'm not going to really speak too much about this match. Afterwards, though, we end up getting Hulk Hogan. He ends up getting a promo segment. It was a very short-lived promo segment. He basically was trying to hype up the crowd, talked about the history of Netflix, and he gets booed. He gets booed like crazy. He gets booed like crazy, and he was trying to, give the crowd, try to hype up the crowd, try to praise the crowd, but they were still booing him. I understand why they booed him. It makes sense. I'm not the biggest Hulk Hogan fan, but I'm also not the biggest hater of him either. I just don't care. Hulk Hogan is just one of those people where I just don't care enough to really hate him, but I don't really like him that much either, so it didn't really matter to me. I was interested to why this even needed a segment, to be honest with you. Now, I heard rumors that they were supposed to be Stone Cold originally, but they couldn't make it work. Still don't understand why they needed Hulk Hogan. I don't understand why they needed Hulk Hogan. You could have easily had someone else do the same promo he did. I'm just going to be honest. You could have easily had The Miz, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes could have easily done this promo, if we're being honest. You could have, well, to be fair, he's feuding with Kevin Owens, so you probably would have been Kevin Owens attack. Yeah, you could have had Cody Rhodes cut this promo, Kevin Owens attacked him. At least that would have furthered the story, in my opinion. There was really no reason for Hulk Hogan to really come out to do this segment. But him getting booed was kind of enjoyable to a degree. Then we get the main event. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, and this match absolutely delivered. I enjoyed this match a lot. Throughout this match, both wrestlers were trying to hit their finishers on each other, but neither of them couldn't. The wrestler, anytime they hit a finisher, they was hitting each other's finishers. Seth kept on hitting the GTS, while Punk was only able to hit the curb stomp. Now, I will say this. Punk kicked out of everything in this match. He ended up hitting, I think Seth Rollins hit like 2 GTSs and 2 pedigrees in this match and a curb stomp in this match. And Punk kicked out of everything besides the curb stomp, because during the curb stomp, he ends up putting his foot on the rope. This match was great, but Punk was kicking out of everything. But this was a great match. But towards the end of the match, you end up getting Seth. He ends up going for his top rope suplex into the Falcon Arrow. But when he was trying to go for the Falcon Arrow, Punk ends up catching him, reversing it into a GTS. Then Punk ends up collapsing to the floor. Seth Rollins is dazed and dizzy from the GTS. He ends up bouncing off the ropes back onto CM Punk's shoulder. CM Punk lifts him back up for another GTS and picks up the victory. That was a great way to end the match. I like how they did it. Now, a lot of people are saying that Seth should have won the first match. I think people need to calm down, okay? First of all, this does not hurt Seth Rollins. And second of all, he's going to win the second match. It doesn't really matter. This is going to be a trilogy. No matter how you do it, they're going to get to match 3. So either way, whoever wins the first match, it doesn't matter. Because the next person is just going to win the next match anyway. Like, I don't get why people are caring that much about the first match. Whoever wins this match was going to win this. Whoever lost the first match is going to win the second match. Like, it's going to be a trilogy. I hope fans know this. So even if Seth Rollins lost this match, but he's going to win the second match. It doesn't matter. If Punk would have lost this match, he was going to win the second match anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And after this, there was a little segment, I don't know, it was off TV, where he was getting interviewed. And he ends up mentioning that he's going for all the gold. He's going after Gunther. He's going after Cody. He's going for everything. So I'm assuming this is going to lead to him eventually going after Gunther, either him winning the title or Seth costing him the title or costing him the Rumble, which I do think is going to play into a factor. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I will say this. This episode of Monday Night Raw, it was good for what it was, but I'm still a bit disappointed. Now, my expectations were high, but I feel like it was necessary for it to be high only because of how they set it up. There was a few things I just didn't understand. I feel like I feel like this was more of an introduction, more of a celebration on Netflix than an actual like a show on Netflix, if that makes sense. I feel like next week is going to be more of a story progression, where I kind of feel like this was supposed to be more of a story progression, in my opinion. It was some things I'm disappointed about. Like, they end up advertising Logan Paul. Logan Paul was just there, but he didn't cut a promo or nothing. He was just there in the audience, so I don't know why they advertised him. The Hulk Hogan thing, I don't understand why they had the Hulk Hogan thing. John Cena, I was cool, but I was hoping someone would interrupt him to lead into potentially a match or something later down the line, to just give us a tease. Same thing with The Rock. I was hoping The Rock would do something to really progress the story, to really show it, to really give us that insight of what's going to really be the potential Mania match, but it seems like he may not be at Mania now due to what happened. Overall, I did think, and the matches on the card were fine, but they weren't great or anything, but they were solid matches. And I think the crowd was kind of ruined, mainly due to early on, because WWE was really trying to force crowd reactions, constantly bringing up the Netflix deal and all that over and over again. They was really trying to force crowd reactions, which kind of made the crowd die down a bit. I think the show was good. I think it was a good show. But it was moments where I was getting a bit bored because I was expecting more. But overall, it was a good show. But I am a bit disappointed. But you guys let me know if my expectations were just too high. You guys let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know how you viewed the show. But leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.